Welcome to the deep dive. You know, sometimes the things we think we know best have these incredible hidden depths. Today we're plunging into one of those. The fifth book of the Torah in the Old Testament, Deuteronomy. Now, maybe when you hear Deuteronomy, you think, laws, maybe a
Oh.
bit dry, a list of rules, but stick with us because you're about to find out it's way more profound, dramatic, and honestly relevant than you might imagine. Okay, let's unpack this. So, our mission today. Why is this repetition of the law so critical? I mean, really crucial for understanding the whole biblical story. How does it connect that wilderness journey to the promised land? And maybe most surprisingly, how does it still influence faith today?
It's a great mission because Deuteronomy really is special. And it's funny, the name itself, Deuteronomy, kind of hints at some confusion. It comes from Greek Deuteronomion, meaning second law, but that was actually a mistranslation.
Oh, really?
Yeah, of a phrase in Deuteronomy 17, verse 18. In Hebrew, it just means a king should make a copy of the law, not a second, different law. But, even though it's based on a mistake, the name is surprisingly fitting because the book is Moses powerfully restating God's laws.
Mm.
But the key is, it's for a new generation, right on the edge of this totally new life in the land. And its place in the Bible is, well, fascinating. It's like this massive interruption, as some scholars call it.
What interruption? How so?
Well, think about where Israel is. They're physically stuck on the plains of Moab by the Jordan across from Jericho. They stay there from the end of Numbers right through all of Deuteronomy.
Right, they don't move geographically.
Exactly. It's not just a pause in travel. It's this deep theological pause. Time for reflection, crucial instruction, getting reoriented before they cross the Jordan. It's like the final vital briefing before a huge mission.
That makes a lot of sense. A strategic pause. And speaking of structure, I've heard Deuteronomy compared to ancient treaties, suzerainty vassal treaties. That sounds pretty technical. Can you break that down for us? What were those, and why is that comparison so important here?
Absolutely. And yeah, it sounds academic, but understanding this treaty idea, it really unlocks the book. So in the ancient Near East, these treaties were basically formal agreements. You had a great king, the suzerain, and a lesser king or people, the vassal.
Okay, a power dynamic.
Right. The great king makes demands, outlines obligations, but also promises protection, blessings. It defined the whole relationship, kept things in order. Loyalty was key. Now look at Deuteronomy. Its structure mirrors these treaties almost perfectly. But here, Yahweh, God, is the divine suzerain.
So God is the great king in this model.
Precisely. It starts with the preamble, Deuteronomy 1, verses 1 to 5, identifies the parties. Yahweh the king, Israel the vassal people. Sets that formal tone right away.
Okay.
Then comes the historical prologue, Deuteronomy 1.6 through 4.43. In the ancient treaties, this part reminded the vassal of the king's past good deeds, why they owed him loyalty. Here, Moses recounts God's faithfulness bringing them out of Egypt, Sinai guiding them through the wilderness, despite their rebellions, mind you.
Right, a reminder of grace.
Exactly. It builds the case. This way you should listen. Then, the biggest chunk. The stipulations, the laws themselves. Chapters 4.44 to 26.19. These are the specific rules, statutes, ordinances, how Israel is supposed to live as God's covenant people, their side of the deal.
The core obligations.
Yep. And then, just like those old treaties, you get the curses and blessings, chapters 27 to 30. Very dramatic. Obedience brings blessings, peace, prosperity, land. Disobedience brings curses, famine, plague, defeat. And for Israel, the ultimate curse. Exile.
High stakes.
Extremely.
Tough.
Finally, leadership succession, chapters 31 to 34. Moses passes the baton to Joshua, ensures the covenant continues. So you see, it's not just history or law, it's a covenant renewal document.
Yeah.
Spoken directly to this new generation, as if they were at Sinai. Makes it immediate binding for them.
Wow. Okay, that creedy framework, that changes everything. It's not just a rule book, it's a relationship defined by covenant with God as the ultimate gracious king. That really shifts the perspective. It's not just academic, it's the lens for everything Moses says next. Which brings us to his urgent message, right?
Exactly. Now that we see this divine treaty structure, we can really feel the weight of Moses' final words. He's talking to a generation at a massive turning point. Remember, these kids, they didn't see the Red Sea part. They didn't stand at Sinai themselves. They were born in the desert.
You only have the stories.
Right. They're relying on their parents' testimony, on Moses. So his words are urgent, passionate. He's trying to impress upon them the seriousness, the legacy, and the absolute spiritual core of it all. The foundation for Judaism, really, is the Shema Yisrael. Deuteronomy 6, verses 4 and 5.
Hear, O Israel, The Lord our God, the Lord is one.
And you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. Every word there is packed. That first word, hear, shema in Hebrew, it's not just about sound waves hitting your eardrum.
Right, you mentioned it's more active.
Way more active. It means listen, yes, but also pay attention, respond, obey. It demands action. If I say listen to my advice, I mean act on it, right? Same idea.
Got it. Active listening and doing.
And love here. Not just warm, fuzzy feelings, it's total commitment, wholehearted devotion, using your will, emotions, mind, strength, everything aligned towards God.
A complete orientation of life.
Completely. And the call to worship a Lord alone, this was radical. You see, earlier Israel might have practiced, well, monolatry.
Monolatry.
Yeah, like worshiping only Yahweh, but maybe acknowledging other gods existed. Common in the ancient world, each nation had its god. But Moses here hammers it home. Yahweh is the only God, one true God. This sets Israel apart completely from Canaanite polytheism. He saw those Canaanite practices, fertility rites, child sacrifices, degrading, destructive, utterly opposed to Yahweh's holiness. This wasn't just theology, it was spiritual survival for them.
That singular devotion, that active obedience, it really sets the stage for the detailed laws that follow, doesn't it? The Deuteronomic Code in chapters 12 to 26. So what does this look like in practice for their society? What do these ancient laws reveal about God and Israel's calling? Some seem pretty strange to us now.
They can seem strange, yeah. But when you dig in, you find God pushing Israel towards a level of justice and compassion that was, frankly, way ahead of its time, really cutting-edge justice. Let's take a few examples. First, this idea of centralized worship in Deuteronomy 12. Worship God at one central place once you're in the land.
Instead of little shrines everywhere.
Exactly. Unlike their neighbors with altars and sacred poles all over, this wasn't just about efficiency. It was a theological safeguard.
How so?
Centralizing worship protected them from syncretism, mixing Yahweh worship with Canaanite fertility cults.
Yeah.
Local altars were danger zones for that kind of blending. It ensured a unified theology, consistent rules, and a clear boundary against those practices Moses warned about. It shaped their whole identity.
Okay, so practical and theological protection.
Definitely. Then there's the radical care for the vulnerable. Deuteronomy hits this again and again. Care for the foreigner, the fatherless, the widow.
Yeah, that phrase comes up a lot.
It does. And it's specific. Leave grain in the field for the poor. Set aside a special tithe every 3 years just for them. In other cultures, the vulnerable were often just out of luck. Here, God builds compassion into the legal system. He even says, remember you were foreigners in Egypt, so treat them well. It reflects God's own character.
That's a massive difference from focusing mainly on property or the elite, like some other ancient codes.
Huge difference. And then you get laws that seem, well, almost minor, like build a railing around your roof. Deuteronomy 22.8.
A railing, okay. Why is that in there?
Think about it. Flat roofs were used all the time back then, socializing, sleeping on hot nights, drying things. No railing. Easy to fall off. Fatal accidents.
Basic safety.
Basic safety, yes, but rooted in a profound principle, the sacredness of human life. Community responsibility. God cares about preventing accidental deaths, even in domestic life. It tells us to look for the underlying wisdom, the value behind the specific rule, even if the rule itself isn't literal for us today.
So discern the principle, like love your neighbor means putting up a railing.
Exactly. Yeah. And finally, consider the accountability of leaders. This was revolutionary. Kings in other cultures, often seen as divine, above the law. But in Israel, kings, priests, elders, everyone was under God's covenant law, held accountable by prophets.
Nobody gets a free pass.
Nope. Deuteronomy 17 even tells the king to write his own copy of the law and read it daily. To remind him he's under God, not above the rules. It set a totally different standard for leadership.
It's clear these aren't just random rules. They paint a picture of God's values, justice, compassion, holiness, values that still resonate. But Moses isn't just laying out rules and values. He hits them with this stark choice, right? An ultimatum. What were the stakes for this new generation?
Oh, the stakes were ultimate. Life and death, basically. Laid out powerfully in the blessings and curses of Deuteronomy 28. 2 paths, 2 futures. Path 1, obedience. That brings blessings. Deuteronomy 28, verses 1 to 14. Abundance, crops, kids, livestock. Victory over enemies, being the head, not the tail. God establishing them as his holy people, flourishing. A beautiful picture.
The ideal.
The ideal. Path 2, disobedience. That wings the curses. Verses 15 to 68, and they are brutal. Devastation, famine, disease like the boils of Egypt again. Defeat, and ultimately exile. Kicked out of the land. Moses uses incredibly graphic language, like warning they might end up eating the fruit of your womb in a desperate siege. Horrifying, He's not mincing words about how bad it could get,
Wow, he's painting a very grim picture of failure.
because the consequences were grim. And
Yeah.
right in the middle of this stark contrast, Moses pleads with them. Deuteronomy 30, verses 15 to 20. Today I set before you life and prosperity, death and disaster. Therefore choose life, so that you and your descendants may live.
Choose life, a direct command.
A passionate appeal. But here's the really poignant part, the deep insight Moses has. He knows them. He knows human nature. He knows, based on the last generation, that this generation will likely fail too. He actually predicts their future rebellion and exile.
He knows they'll blow it. That's depressing.
It is, but it's realistic. Deuteronomy 31 even says God knows they'll turn away. But, and this is crucial, embedded within that tragic forecast is this incredible promise of hope, future transformation. Moses prophesies that even when they're in exile, if they turn back to God with all their heart, God will do something amazing. He will circumcise their hearts.
Circumcise their hearts. What does that mean?
It's a metaphor, a powerful one. Not physical, but spiritual surgery. Removing the stubbornness, the hardness, that inner resistance that stops them from truly loving and obeying God. It's like God replacing that heart of stone with a heart of flesh, as later prophets like Jeremiah and Ezekiel would say. God himself enabling them to obey from the inside out, fixing the core human problem.
So even predicting failure, there's this ultimate hope of God changing them from within. That's huge.
They're fundamentally hopeful, yes. It points towards a deeper work God intends to do.
And that deep hope kind of carries us to the end of Moses' own story, right? Deuteronomy 34. So poignant. He climbs Mount Nebo, sees the promised land,
Sees it all laid out before him.
but he can't go in because of that incident at Meribah. Yet even in his last speeches, he's still preparing them. I found that detail you mentioned fascinating about King Og's giant iron bed.
Ah, yeah, 9 cubits long. Deuteronomy 3.01.
Why include that?
Moses retells stories like defeating Sihon and Og, these formidable kings, these giants almost, including details like the giant bed serves as a powerful reminder. Look who you've already defeated with God's help. Don't fear the people in Canaan. God fought for you then, he'll fight for you now. It's pure encouragement.
Building their confidence for what's next, even as he's about to leave them.
Exactly. And his death marks the end of his incredible life and the end of the Torah, the Pentateuch. Deuteronomy 34.9 sums it up. No prophet has risen in Israel like Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face. Unique, irreplaceable. But here's something really interesting structurally. Deuteronomy, even as it concludes the Torah, deliberately leaves major plot lines hanging. It doesn't wrap everything up neatly.
Oh,
Well, think back to Genesis 3, who's the descendant who will finally defeat evil. Still unresolved.
yeah.
Genesis 12, how will God really bless all nations through Abraham's family, especially given Israel's ups and downs, still unfolding, or that core tension from Exodus and Numbers? How can a holy God live among such a rebellious people? That's not fully settled. And the big one we just talked about, how will human hearts truly be transformed, circumcised, as Deuteronomy 30 promises?
So it leaves you wanting more.
Precisely. It's intentional. This openness propels the story forward. It invites you, the listener, to keep reading, keep exploring Joshua, Judges, Samuel, Kings, the prophets, to see how these tensions play out.
What an incredible journey through Deuteronomy. Seriously, it's so much more than laws. It's this foundational covenant renewal shaped like a treaty. It's that urgent call to Shema to love God completely actively. It's a blueprint for justice and compassion that was revolutionary, and it holds out this amazing promise of a changed heart.
Absolutely. It's wisdom about who God is and what he desires from us, that deep, committed relationship. It really does continue to guide and challenge people today. It connects listening, loving, and living out faith in very tangible ways.
So, maybe the thought to leave you with is this. In our world, with so many distractions pulling at us, what does it mean for you personally to truly listen to Shema and to choose life right now? How can you embrace that ongoing journey of faith, that promise of a transformed heart in your own context? Lots to think about there. We hope this deep dive has sparked some new insights.